Want to go to stores and get things because you want them? Then use my Horton card. It's reliable, it's no fuss, it's a fancy plastic IOU card that will have you swimming in debt for the rest of your and your offspring's life. And to make sure you feel comfortable with spending money you don't have, we'll use this comedian to make you feel like it's no big thing.
I'm from that TV show that's doing reasonably well, so I've got a sense of humor about spending money on stuff I don't need. Just charge my card, buddy. Whatever, doesn't really matter to me because I'm mostly excited to get cash back.
Relatable. Why use gross paper covered with pictures of dead guys when you can use my square piece of dinosaur carcass with numbers on it? In fact, nowadays, you have to have a square of recycled soda bottle, because how else would you even be able to purchase your online subscription to watching what used to be free? Or paying for an expensive education that won't lead to a job. Really, any financial milestone. That's right. To get a roof over your head, you need to earn credit, which is really just showing you own a little square that you have to pay off continually. Somehow that's what makes you trustworthy and shows you're good with money. We've made it impossible to live without our plastic number swiper. We're putting chips in some of them now. Look at that. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Also a pain in the ass? You can't even use these everywhere. You can use it in some places that pay me to accept your card. Otherwise, you can just use money, which is what people who are taking your money would prefer. I'm an expensive middleman who's charging everyone extra for using my plastic cutout. Also, you'll probably need a different swipey swiper when my card doesn't work at one place where another one does work. Is it harder to keep track of how much you're spending when you don't physically see the presidentially decorated paper strips leaving your hands? We're counting on it, especially when we encourage you to go paperless. We'll say it's for the environment, but it's really because we know if we send you emails of the charges you made, you'll only skim the email, if you're reading them at all. Here's where it gets fun for me and exclusively no one else. We made it so the longer it takes for you to be able to pay us back on time, the more money you'll rack up in interest, and the harder it'll be to pay off. And doesn't that sound like it should be illegal? It's not, it's interest. Interest is a random percentage we charge you because you made charges. This is going to get pretty technical and pretty crimey, so let's look at a graph. If you're the average American credit card holder, then you owe more than $10,000 in debt. Let's say your interest rate is 24.99%, and you're paying off just the minimum because times are tough, or, because times are normal. That means that in 10 years, you'll have paid more than $26,000 and still owe over $11,000 more, and that's just 10 years. After 50 years, you'll have paid $165,729 and still owe more than $17,000. So you will always owe me money. But the more you use our card, the more worthless things we'll give you. All right. Yes, let's hear it for stuff, or even better than stuff, cash back, which is just a tiny portion of money that you'll use to pay off the debt. But of course, you'll never see actual money. The more you charge, the more cash back we give you. It's like you're digging a hole and we throw in a handful of dirt to help you get out of the hole, but only after you dig 5 feet deeper. If you're worried you might not be able to pay off this credit card, we'll encourage you to get another card to pay off that one, and then another to pay off that one. The more credit cards, the more you have to pay, and the more you owe us. It's literally the same apparatus as a Ponzi scheme, but we tell you about it with a 300-page tiny printed booklet that you won't read. So get yourself a Horton Card credit card. Go ahead and swipe it through machines till you owe us billions. Oh, is that too harsh? Oh, here. Hey, Laugh Machine, make the people feel better with your jokey words.
Hey, so you guys ever notice how Katy Perry is...
You feel better already, right?
Katy Perry's basically just Zooey Deschanel, but gassier. So.
I'm Roger, by the way.
And thank you, Roger, for another decorated, very descriptive view of how credit card companies and just how this whole thing that we call life, there's so many things that are meant to just take your money. What's up, you guys? And we're back, Swerve here, and I got a good one today. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was like, what is something that we see a lot in crypto? We see a lot of people that basically influence others, right? And I had to ask myself, am I in that category? I would say to an extent, yes, but I really to put myself in a category, I would say I'm more so on the education side than anything. I really don't do too much of like, hey, I think everyone should buy this and buy that, or hey, this new coin is out, or hey, here's this pre-sale IPO that you should get in, or hey, download this link and you'll get free whatever trading on Bybit. Like, I don't think I would put myself in that category, but there's a lot of people in crypto that do these things. So I want to talk about that today. I think being in crypto, it is a thing to where it's like, yeah, you want to search for information and hopefully you get good quality information, but it's about discernment, being able to have discernment and know what's the good stuff versus the stuff that's just like not going to get you any type of benefit in the long term. You might get a little excitement or a little entertainment for the short term, sure, but like who is going to be able to stay consistent in providing value? And because being an influencer, I don't think is a bad thing, but being an influencer that only just takes and never gives, honestly, I don't think that's beneficial for any really at the end of the day besides them. So appreciate y'all coming through. Who we got? Let's talk some bribes. Yes, sir. I think that's what happens, believe it or not, to a lot of these crypto influencers. They take money from who knows who, like people that have projects, and like they're like, hey, would you shield my project for X amount of dollars and do it for a whole month? And I'll give you whatever, 5K. There's other situations where it's just in exchange. Like if you have a large enough channel, an exchange will be like, hey, if you just shield this referral link, we'll give you X amount of dollars, So I remember this past bear market, there was a list that came out on Twitter, and I would have to go and find it, but there's a list of like 30, if not more, 40 crypto influencers and how much they're making from people that just give them money to shield certain things. Like, so a lot of these large channels, not going to name no names, but a lot of these large channels are definitely getting paid to say certain things. And so one thing that I'll say is like, if there's any shilling on this channel, it's going to be things that I provide. The value is not going to be some other coin. I may interview somebody from here time to time, and that might be coming up here in the future. But that's the thing. You got to be able to read in between the lines. And it's clear to see when somebody is simply just like, hey, you know what? I want you guys to go and buy this because it's small market cap. I want to kind of manipulate the situation because I'm already in. I want you guys to buy it up later, some random meme coin. And, I'm most likely going to dump on your head. This is what a lot of people do. That scenario that I described, this is what happens. So that's why I'm not like, I talk about meme coins very rarely because typically that's the way that people will extract from the people that watch the channels is through these super low cap coins that just kind of come out of nowhere. And before you know it, people are wrecked because they're buying stuff that doesn't even really do anything, has no use case. So yeah, we got to be watchful. So today, that's what we're talking. Who we got? Yes, these videos are so good. I appreciate you, man. I found Honest Ads on YouTube. It's a channel called Honest Ads, and they literally have a video for every type of topic where people are getting shafted. And basically, that's everywhere. Like we talked about homes. We've already seen the situation with credit cards today. We talked about how taxes, how they're trying to just get you there. As I've stated on this channel several times before, many things in this world was simply created to distract you while they take your money. But they're going to tell you something different, like it's positive for you, but the whole thing is trying to extract you from your resources. And so that's what we need to learn how to do first and foremost, is how to spot these things. And that's why I play these videos every single stream now, because it's about being aware. And so awareness half the time is going to take you further than just hearing from somebody else. Having a good discernment and good visual for yourself to say, okay, yeah, something don't seem right about this. Let me think a little bit deeper. Let me read a little bit more. If you actually do the extra work, you'll find that most things that we participate in general, and there's somebody smiling on the other side, like, hey, I'm trying to hear that. It's just like, yeah, do you really want to help me? I don't know. Let me double check. But after you spend some time, you got to watch them. You got to really see what are they providing of value. And there are a lot of good people out there that provide value. But I would say if I were to give a percentage of actual crypto people that have a YouTube channel that actually give real good value, I'd say it's definitely less than 15%. I think 15% of people on here on YouTube give decent value. The other 85% is just like, okay, you're just giving me current news and and hype and like teach me something. Like teach me something. That's what I was thinking for so long. That's why I had to just say, you know what? If nobody gonna do it, I'm gonna do it myself. And so at the end of the day, that's where you really have the intrinsic value is the knowledge that you gain as you go on your investing journey. And then so that's what I'm here to do. So yeah. Has anybody had a story or a situation where maybe they were following a crypto influencer or whatever the case is, and they found out that, you know what, this ain't it. This ain't what's hot in the streets. And, you know, things went bad. Because I've heard some stories, man. I've heard some stories. And so at the end of the day, you really got to try to find quality, just like how it's important to try to find quality within crypto and the things that you may be investing in. So it takes work. You've got to put some hours in dedication. Be vigilant, like I said. And before you make your decision, just try to get some good analyzation. And at the end of the day, you'll never go wrong with that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Outside of that, one thing that, as y'all can kind of tell, thus far this week has been a little boring. It's been a little mundane. And so these are the times, these are the moments to say, let me start to look around the market and see what's on discount. Because at the end of the day, when you feel the hype die down, and what we can kind of do is check some of these charts, we're going to see the sentiment. The sentiment is dwindling down, and that's what you want. You want people to go away. You want people to not talk about ETFs and new coin launches and X, Y, and Z. You want people to be quiet. That way you can listen, and then you can watch, and then you can make your move in silence, right? So making moves in silence is really how you kill it. And so, this is kind of a nice, like, slow period. Not too much volatility for crypto the last few days, which is very nice. The Pulse chain ecosystem is kind of dwindling down just a little bit. And then so this is an opportunity to just kind of look around and say, hey, what kind of opportunities are in front of me now that I can actually think, now that there's not so much stuff going on all at once. So for sure, I'm kind of curious, the more and more that I am doing these streams, I'm curious on how many people legitimately, actually say, all right, as I'm watching Swerve or whatever the case is, what did I learn today? Because honestly, that's what I feel like my purpose here on YouTube is specifically, is just education, man. Because just in life in general, I think that we are a society of people that, we know the basics of things, but we rarely have a deep understanding of certain things, So when it comes to crypto, that's what my goal was for myself. After I had experienced some certain successes and, some certain failures early on for sure, my then thought process was like, okay, how do I educate myself so I could have real confidence? Not like the confidence like, oh yeah, I'm starting my journey, but it's like, like confidence, like I know every step of what I'm doing, and I know this is going to succeed because I know the strategy, and I prepared, and I'm executing, and I'm keeping track, and I'm doing my research, and I'm doing these YouTube streams. It's just like, you got to stay on it until you have finished the race. And the race is, making to the top of this bull run. 2024, 2025, we'll see what's coming down the pike. So appreciate you guys for coming through. Before we talk about the main topic of the dark side of crypto influencers, let's check the charts and see what is going on these boring. I'll be honest, like, it's been pretty mundane out here. We're going to see if we can kind of collect some data, some information that can kind of help us get a gauge on what is real and what is going on. So let's go ahead and pull up. I think the first chart that we can pull up today is going to be the total 3. So total 3, just as a reminder, if you're new, this is going to be the crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So all the altcoins, and we get an idea of how they're looking. So let's take off these indicators, and maybe we can just do one by one. And, I spent a lot of time curating these things because they help me on the daily basis. So first of all, let's just look at chart structure. So if you guys remember, just about last month, I did a stream really talking about being offsides and being onsides. So being onsides looks like being under certain levels for the total 3. And being offsides is basically investing, past this golden ratio, which, if we want to kind of remember what that is. So this third line is just like level 1, level 2, level 3. So being offsides looks like investing when we're about like $792 billion for the altcoin market cap. You find yourself investing in alts after that, you're not going to get as good as a return, right? You're not limiting your downside risk. And then at the end of the day, that's when all of the crypto influencers are going to be here trying to shill you all kind of crap. So it's best to just get your bags now, stay on sides, get the gains that you want. And then after that, just coast and chill, put on your glasses and just eat some popcorn and let your bags grow. Because sometimes investing can really be that simple, but we like to do all the extra stuff, which, hey, teach his own. So if we just kind of want to look at things and tidy this down just a little bit, we'll kind of go through the process of what we've experienced over the last, 3 months. Over the last 3 months, we have experienced the first bullish move. First thing I always like to do is take this chart and put it on Heikin Ashi candles because it really helps us understand momentum. Momentum and rate. And here's the thing, y'all. So rate of change is such a big deal. In many cases, it can be more important than volume. In many cases, it can be more important than moving averages or Fibonacci levels. Rate of change and pace really lets you understand how an asset moves. And then you can kind of anticipate, hey, I see something slowing down. Then there's going to be a macro pivot on whatever type of time scale you're looking at. Here, we're looking at the 3-day chart. So if we want to look over the past 3 months, and so we can really, delineate this area here from like mid-October to, mid-January where we're at, we see that this time period definitely looks a lot different than the whole year and some change before that. Why do I say that? Because previously during this accumulation phase, we see a lot of green, then we see a lot of red. This be a little bit of green, then a little bit of red, a little bit of green, a little bit of red, a lot of green, a little bit of red, more green, a lot of red. So it's very matchy, basically saying this is a seesaw accumulation, coins leaving from, short-term holders who are capitulating because they're afraid, going into the sure hands, the smart money's hands. And you see, as we just really kind of putting around within a certain range, and what do we experience? We experience a pop where we see several, when I say several, candles of just up action. And throughout this, last, 3 months, we've really only truly had just about 10 days, maybe 12 days of where we actually had momentum that was more so to the downside. So if you want to look at that, that's 85% of the time we're moving up. So that's clearly different than what we experienced during the accumulation phase. So it's all about noticing the change of tides. I did a stream on that a year ago, understanding the change of the tide, understanding the different season, the different period of capital flow that we find ourselves in. And we are definitely in a new regime as of October of 2023. So now as we continue closer to the halving, which, before you know it, it's going to be here in less than 100 days. So you really have to understand that is a big narrative that a lot of people pay attention to in crypto. And believe it or not, the news channels are going to talk about it. And so just for that one reason, that one piece of sentiment, typically we may see some type of pump going into it. And so, that's determines, we got to determine to see that. But it's just understanding what are some of the things that move price. It's not the narrative always follows price, but believe it or not, people like to front run with their dollars, with their fiat currencies. And so, smart money really do like to play the game of, hey, let's pump this up. Let's start it. Let's go ahead. And when people are going to be talking about all this happening and all this kind of stuff, and then we'll slowly just kind of take our profits. Because there's a lot of traders within the market of crypto. And these are institutions. These are, large players. And so what we got to realize is, okay, we have not hit the first level. We have not hit that first level of 550 billion. So you're still on sides. Basically meaning on a long-term time scale, if you give yourself, let's say, 3 to 4 or 5 years, you will do okay, especially if you dollar cost average. Now, with that being said, but that deal gets worse and worse the higher that this market cap goes. And so if we kind of, turn this back to the regular candles, let's try to use some metrics. Let's kind of use some of these indicators to help us get a better understanding on what things are looking like. So the first thing that we can do is we actually have a fear and greed metric for the total 3. And so what I did here is I coded up a 100-day look back. So it gives you the average fear and greed over the past 100 days and brackets them. And then we could see, okay, well, what is the mean fear and greed as of today based on, this last, data series of 100 days. And so what we can see is like, essentially we've come up above the high point at 80. And then so we've seen, where we've had extreme greed where we're at like 90. We're at 95. So, that's like a little mini altcoin season. Like we got a little taste of what a real altcoin season looks like. Like, for example, just so we know, if you're like a first time, crypto investor, a real altcoin season looks a little bit more like this. And then so, if we want to, or let's actually put this on the weekly chart so we can get like a better idea. So a real altcoin season looks like when we're literally just going straight vertical for, seemingly months at a time, and we have some give back and we have several weeks of just kind of consolidation. But this altcoin season back in the last cycle, I mean, we're talking from November of 2020 all the way till May of 2021. So 5 months of just pure bliss. And the thing is, you want to be feeling really good with your bags packed before this period in time. And then so really essentially like this is typically going to be like that last, 40% of the cycle. I would say currently we're at about like that 25 to 30% range of this cycle. But before you know it, we're going to be halfway through and things really get exciting. So the question remains, will you be on sides or will you be off sides? The choice is yours, right? And so, same thing, with this metric for, total 3, we were able to capture like half of the uptrend from 2017. But as you can see, it is pure bliss. Like we're the overall market capitalization. So if we were to, measure this out. And so it's after this sideways consolidation, but same thing, you can definitely tell that this is like a very large accumulation range, but it's back and forth seesawing. This is a little bit tighter, but same type of thing. Now we're seeing that sideways move in action. We may see some sideways move in action for some time, but like, from this period in time, the market capitalization went up about 800%. Now that's not saying that all altcoins only go up 8x because, some of the smaller altcoins with this valuation that are, maybe like, 10 million or 50 million market cap, these are the coins that experience 75x or 50x and all that good stuff. But in general, like your larger market caps, like they got an 8x without a problem. And that's not even getting, any type of low. It's just the altcoin season adding value to the people who were positioned correctly. And so the newcomers, they come in and make these, expansive moments when they come bring liquidity, when it's already out in the economy, and they invest. And unfortunately, these big old candles right here. So this is like when China was like, hey, we're not, we're taking out all the miners out of here. So like these big old candles that we see, and this is like on a weekly chart. So this week, for example, right here, this is May of 2021. That should have been the first sign of like, okay, like, and it's not just in the TA, you can see this, but it's like, hey, party's over, y'all. And then so, but there's a lot of things, especially in this like February to May period on several different fronts where you're able to kind of see, things are definitely getting overheated. And so just in general, like I said, where we find ourselves on a weekly chart, we still aren't at that extreme greed, like on a weekly basis, which is good. That lets you know that we're still kind of in that space of like ramping up. And if we were to value it very similarly with the metric, we find ourselves kind of like right here. So if y'all can kind of peep game real quick. So if we want to look, okay, here's where we're at currently today at about 36 with the fear and greed. And I want to kind of, display this all the way across the chart. So we're at 36 on the weekly fear and greed for the total 3, market cap. Now, with that being said, what is a like kind time period in the last cycle we were there? And then so this puts us right about May of 2020. And so to make this plain, to make this make sense, this is like a similar area of where the fear and greed was just about right here. This is like that first little push off of COVID. But as you can see in this example, like in each cycle is going to be different. You can kind of see that this is like just the beginning of that real ramp up period where you had, so a nice push, but then you had just about like 6 months of almost like consolidation, and then you had like the real push, beginning late and really like early 2021, but like late December is like when we really seen that first big candle and that continuation of momentum just really busted open to really receive a lot of value for the market caps. So with that being said, the fear and greed on the weekly is not too high, but we kind of see some time period where we're going sideways, which is okay. It's permitted. Things aren't always going to go up, but those are the opportunities when they're kind of sideways in a bull run. But definitely when you see prices retract 15, 20, whatever, 30%, if we get it, we're going to see. We haven't had that all cycle, but if we get a 30% dip in Bitcoin, understand like those are gifts because, in a bull run, those are the opportunities to kind of grow that bag and try to keep your cost basis lower. So that's the first metric that we can use. Now, outside of that, there's another metric that, members of the Vaults of Crypto have access to. We have the risk indicator. So this is going to assess the risk of buying at current levels. And then so same thing, if we were to try to look at this from a wholesome look, we'll look at the weekly, then we'll kind of go down to like the daily. So, we're nowhere within the red. So like we're not at that point of extreme risk where like all these people are really like, and there's a lot of people that put in thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars thinking that, hey, this thing is going to go back up. But, when you see like these candles like that and you see the on-chain data flashing at you like, hey, timeout, like there's a lot of money in here, things are overvalued, you should, there's a lot of people that wanted to just keep the dream alive here. And then they slowly seen that like really this is more sideways, especially like from August 2021 to like March of 2020, it's really more sideways than up. So you really can get a sense of like, yeah, this is not the same type of momentum as a hockey stick moment like this. So like I said, being able to have the discernment to notice the difference in the chart, in the momentum, and the pattern. A lot of people don't necessarily talk about that, but from a risk standpoint on the weekly, we're not too overheated, but we're heading in that direction. Now let's look at this thing on the daily because we want to say, okay, like when may be a good opportune time to DCA within and this is for all the altcoins here. So this is good information. So, as of right now, we've reached a period of time where, we're a little fluffy up top. Like we're not at 50, but we're pretty close. We're at 46. And so just for example, to like kind of bring this home, that accumulation range, what do we see? We seen that it was low risk, like especially everything from, Luna and this, I mean, we're talking about the capitulation of all this stuff. Like you see how all this stuff is here in like that deep value in that green, like all of this was like, like it was like at a buffet, just whatever you want, go ahead and get it, because this is how you solidify a low cost basis. And you can just do it little bit by little bit. But we literally had, like, if we were to put a time scale to it, like we literally had, I'm talking from June of 2022 to October 2023. So 480 days, over a year and some change. Now, we've entered a slightly different phase because y'all can see how we hovered, especially at the lower basin on this green line for quite some time. But we definitely got some divergence and headed up to we've done a round trip. We were touching green and then we touch red. Now, with that being said, if we kind of go down a little more, so let's say, for example, like this is just for example's sake, let's say we start to see this dwindle and kind of move like this and head down. Price doesn't always have to follow in that essence of like crashing down, right? It doesn't mean that, we're going to come right back down here to where we were in actual price. What it means is simply that the more that you go sideways sometimes and not necessarily up, these metrics are going to go down because it's giving you a better reading on risk. Simply because since we're not in that bullish momentum still and holding and sustaining price, that actually is a better opportunity because that means there's support with a high probability of price continuing to go up. So the risk is less, if that makes sense. So sideways action in my book is not too bad, which we've kind of been in a little bit more sideways action, really, truthfully, with the alts. There's been some things that kind of continue to pump a little bit more, but overall, like I guess you can say once we kind of hit this piece from December, so from Christmas until now, we've been sideways. And so we've got to digest this move. And it's really promising the fact that we didn't go straight down. Because so for example, like in a bear market, you might have some sideways action, but then you get capitulation, right? You might have some upwards action, but then you get a capitulation. So you see this is obviously more down instead of just holding sideways like how we're doing currently. So that's a good look. it gives opportunity in time aspect. And so, and we'll see really, once we start to hop into the later stages of January, see if the orientation of this looks any different. So, we got a decent look. Now, with that being said, what else is something that we can look at? So let's go over to the indicators, and let's go ahead and look at the Heikin Ashi trend reversal. So this one is my favorite. I've really put a lot of time into making sure that this is, coded to expertise to really be beneficial. But, one thing that it does really good, which it helps you stay on size. It helps you not invest above the 100-day moving average. But essentially, it's going to do a good job of really getting that good D value. So it fired off many different times. Here, here, here. I mean, we can count over 10 times for really good DCAs. And what you find is it never has us, buying at a peak or a period of excitement, right? So you can really make sure, when you see this on your trading view, when you're in the group, you can say, all right, cool. I got this thing rocking and running. You can go ahead and set alerts for when these buy signals go off. And then that's when you say, okay, hey, I really need to take a serious look at these altcoins to see which one I want to grab on discount. And to get a little bit more detail, you can come over here, potentially pop this on like an 8-hour chart. And as you can see, like there was that opportunity. This was, on that period of time when GBTC was selling off and Bitcoin went from like 49K to give or take 42K. And we had that crazy wick. If you're paying attention, right, or if you had this set up as an alert, you could have got some pretty good value because we did get a buy signal with that situation. But with that being said, we have some opportunity as we're finally coming back down a little bit closer towards this 100-day moving average. And yeah, if we kind of go sideways over the next week or two, we're going to start to see, okay, here may be a time to start looking at some things for some solid DCAs. And then so we'll keep an eye on that. But nonetheless, if we were to pop this on the Bollinger Bands, same thing. We find ourselves really trending down towards, past that midline. And, it's looking pretty green potentially and green, I mean, as like a good opportunity potentially to start maybe looking at some things on discount. So find what you like, obviously do your research. I know kind of, what I'm going towards, what I'm building up. And because my thing is like, hey, I know I got such a low cost basis on a lot of these alts. I really want to try to maintain that if I do add more capital. So these are the things that you really got to think about as you're considering any type of strategy in terms of DCAing or just putting money into any market, not just crypto. And so, things are looking pretty good on that front. Let's take a break. Let's see what y'all got. Any questions, anything that you guys want to talk about before we get into that main topic of, being wary and paying attention to crypto influencers. So what we got? Let's see. So I've definitely learned a lot by watching your videos, the alpha and education you provide for free. Keyword, for free. I don't got to say all this stuff on YouTube. It's content that would be behind the paywall for others. So I appreciate it. Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing. There's no problem paying for information. Like I've done that several times in business, like out in the real world. Like paying for knowledge is a worthy thing. But the thing is, it's like you also want to try to do your due diligence and say, hey, what can I get for free? And just believe not, there's a lot of things that are pretty good out there for free. But in general, if you want a little bit tighter, like a tighter look in terms of like a little bit more detailed stuff, then generally, yeah. I mean, sometimes that's how it is. You have to pay for it. But you got to ask yourself, is the money that I'm paying going to basically equip me with the knowledge that's going to give me long-term success, not for just one bull run, but I'm talking about for the rest of my investing life. And that's what we do here at Volta Crypto. Like the information that gets spread, the detailed look, the conversations, the red alerts, like all that stuff, the private streams, these are all meant to produce people that are savvy and smart, not just for a little bit, but like this is stuff that they'll never forget, that I'll never forget. And that's the key, because like at some point you'll say like, I have so much confidence, like, yeah, I want to check in and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to ever have to rely solely on someone else to like be an investor. Like, that's the best type of power. And that's what crypto is all about, being able to have enough confidence to really experience that freedom. And that's what I try to, basically encourage everybody to do. So at the end of the day, I appreciate the compliments, because that's the value that I'm trying to, to really give out here in these streets. What it do, how you feeling, bro? So yeah, and the same thing, I know as far as Mr. Angelo here, he's been putting a lot of time. I've seen him in other chats, I've seen him putting in the work, I've seen him giving value. And at the end of the day, when you are confident in what you're doing, you have no problem doing that for free. And so, the people that have a paywall behind everything that they do, typically I find that, one, they're not the most informative. They may have some inside information because they may know some people that are launching coins and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it. And you got to ask yourself, does that really help you long term? Probably not, and that's just my opinion. So yeah. Well, with that being said, let's take a little sec. Let's do a little ASMR. I got the Coke Zero, so put that on stream real quick. No sugar. So if y'all don't know, I'm actually doing the fast right now, trying to be lean and mean. Got to try to stay healthy. And I'm like, dang, I can't just drink water all day. So outside of water, this is the only thing I'm drinking. No sugar, but this is better than soda, right? So, because soda has good gobs of sugar, right? But yeah. So let's get into it just a little bit. Now, when you find yourself, I guess you can say, watching YouTube or going on x.com or Instagram or whatever, one thing that I noticed that people that don't necessarily add so much value with their content, they may not be good at that, but they are really good at trying to evoke someone's emotions. So that's the number one red alert. Is if you are watching somebody stream, or if you look at their thumbnail first and foremost, and you see like the big eyes, and you see that, I understand that's all part for the algorithm, but you see like, hey, this coin is gonna 100x. Hey, this is gonna do this. Like when they're giving what Richard Hart would say, forward leaning predictions all the time, and they're leading with that, you should know right away this person does not have any real value for me. Like, you got to understand, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to lean on some people's incompetency and just give them the hopes of quick money. That's what I found, especially when I first started to look for decent information on the internet. Was I seen a whole lot of that. So I'm not going to say no names, but there's certain people that were just like, hey, this coin, hurry up, buy this right now. And me being new to crypto at the time, I'm just like, okay, this seems like hey, this guy's upbeat. He must have made some money. Like, he's happy. But then you got to realize, well, why are they so happy? Was it because they've done well with crypto in their investing journey? Or they've basically gotten people to buy a whole bunch of their product, maybe? Or they're getting referral fees for shilling certain things? Maybe. So a lot of the times is like, I come on here, I have a good time, I'm smiling, but at the same time, I'm trying to give you cold, hard data, stuff that is not meant to excite you. Sometimes it's just meant to say, hey, here's what we got. So here's what you got to do. The choice is yours, right? But here's the information. I come on here in that type of tone a lot. And simply because I'm not trying to evoke someone's emotion to be extremely bullish all the time. Oh, yeah, it's like, yeah, we're all going to be millionaires. Like, here's another thing. And now that I'm on this topic, if someone is always constantly talking about, hey, be a millionaire, get to this dollar amount. It's like, first of all, they're making a mistake for themselves, because, and I learned this a long time ago, is if you have an arbitrary number of like, hey, I'm trying to be here at this number, what you find is that's like an ever so evasive task to do in your mind, because you're not going to, for example, recognize you're at the top of the bull run if you're just like $900,000, and you're just like, no, I'm almost close to that million. So let me just add some more at the top of the market, just so you can see $1 million in your personal portfolio. Like, but you're increasing your risk with that new capital that you entered in. Like, these things that we do of trying to set certain dollar limits is a big fail. And so people that are always shilling that, telling you like, hey, you'll become a millionaire if you invest in blah, blah, blah coin, and you hold on to it this bull run, and then you sell at this exact time all at once, and just so follow me, I'll tell you everything what to do. Like, you should already know these people have zero insight, really. Like, they're really just trying to get you excited. And when people are excited, they spend money. Like, think about it out in the world. When people just do these spur of the purchases, these impulse purchases, it's generally because their excitement level is not allowing their mind to clearly think, and they just do it, and they think about it later. It's like, oh snap, should I have bought in this X, Y, and Z? I actually got to pay some bills, but they just do it anyway. And then, so first of all, that's the number one thing I noticed with crypto influencers. A good thing that they do, or what they're very good at, is not so much the information, the analysis, as far as like, hey, here's what we have. Here's how maybe you can think about this. You maybe go and do some, or suggesting you to even go and do some research yourself and come back with some valuable things to say in the comments. Because same thing here. I'm always saying, hey guys, what you guys got in the comments? What do you have thought provoking that we can talk about? It's just not about me just coming up here and say, hey, look how smart I am. Everybody, like, hey, follow me and, become a millionaire. Like, that's what a lot of people do. Like, I don't care about really being smart. I care about taking a detailed look at things and trying to move correct. And that's it. And so keep vigilant. Like, really watch what people are doing, not just what they say. And are they backing up what they say? And then here's the thing. If someone is wrong, so for example, let's say someone's like, hey, I believe X, Y, and Z is going to happen. This is my strong thesis. I believe this, and here's the reason why. And that thing doesn't happen. If they're trying to skate and be like, oh, I never said that, or it's like, or they don't take responsibility for what they're leading people to do at some point, then you should know they were really never trying to help you in the first place. Like, because here's the thing, something that my father taught me a long time ago. He's like, the one thing a man has is his word. And if you find somebody saying something and when it really comes down to it, they can't take the accountability and say, hey, you know what? Look, I was wrong. People make mistakes. But and because here's the thing, like, a mistake doesn't ruin someone's credibility. Because as we all know, crypto is really a journey of yourself, right? And then we're all kind of going in the same direction, really. But at the end of the day, everyone has to take their own responsibility for what they do. But if you know that you have a certain power or a certain responsibility and people listen to you a certain extent, and if you said something that maybe didn't happen in that same way or was maybe a little negative for someone's portfolio, you got to come out and say like, hey, you know what? Look, I might have missed a piece of information and I was thinking this, which I wasn't considering X, Y, and Z, but hey, let's continue on. And they got to admit, hey, you know what? I was wrong. So if you find a channel where like they're always right, or they're always trying to highlight the things and times where they're right, then to me, that's still not an honest person. Like, because they're not talking about when they might have had a misstep. And I think that's very important to be able to say, hey, I had a misstep here and here, and here's why, and here's how I got better from it. I did that plenty of times when I was playing sports, where after a game, and here's the thing, like when you play at a high level, you have to watch the film after. You get graded on how you do. So you got to face it. All right, these like 12 plays, I didn't do so good. But here's the thing. You got to admit, okay, you know what? Because you have a coach ask you, hey, what were you thinking on this play? Why did you lose that rep? And you got to kind of go through your mind. You got to say, you know what? Hey, I was thinking that this was going to happen. I might have been a little bit too jumpy. I might have not have been focused. Hey, I was tired, whatever the case may be. But you got to kind of express that. That way everybody can be on the same page. So moving forward, it's just like, okay, cool. We're going to try to keep people in positions to succeed. And hey, that communication is on point and positive, really. Even though there's things that happen, the communication is good because now we understand in certain scenarios, we might have to move a little bit differently. But we got the exposure, we got the learning lesson, and let's try to be positive from here and keep pushing forward. So that's the thing. People don't take that kind of accountability a lot of the time. And, for me, right, I love being around, or I love seeing people take a little bit of accountability at least. But here's another thing. So I see a lot of people on Twitter, especially, they're really prominent on, hey, I called this blah, blah, blah last cycle. Follow me. I've seen that a lot. Or, hey, you want to be like, I can't remember. It's like 3 or 4 accounts in particular. And they got ads, but like they tend to pop up on my feed. And I'm just like, yo, like how many times I got to block this thing? And it's just like something else just like it. Hey, I gave you Chainlink. I gave you Solana at, $2 or whatever. Like, follow me this bull run. And it's just like, how do I know that? Like, where's your proof? Where's your YouTube channel? Where's like, there's some things on Twitter, which here's the thing. People are going to call out a gazillion things. So for example, if I say, hey, I think these like 20 coins are going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm bound to be right about like 5 of them. And then next bull run, I can be like, hey, I gave you these 5. Like, hey, follow me. It's like, yeah, but what about these other 15 that did not happen in the direct light of what you were saying that they were going to do certain things? and half of them were rugs. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what about those? You're not gonna talk about those? No. And so that's another thing, y'all. Like, people are always going to want to highlight the wins and never highlight the failures or the missteps. And then so just be careful about those people, because 9 times out of 10, if they're going to be a little dishonest about that, they'll maybe potentially be a little bit dishonest about other things in the future. And so that's just that. Like, have y'all seen any of that? What else have we seen? Like, I mean, I remember like a lot of these, especially, what was this, like 2020, where you see these like, hey, buy one, or not necessarily buy one. Hey, donate one or send us 1 Bitcoin and we'll send you 3. Like that stuff. And they have like Michael Saylor talking, and you think, oh, it's really Michael Saylor talking to me. It's like, really? You really think Michael Saylor, like, he's up like $8 billion bucks? You really think that he's trying to send you Bitcoin? So, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I have like 2 people that I know like pretty closely, like they almost fell for it. And like one of them called me, he's like, hey, like, you see this going on right now? And I'm like, yo, like, no, don't do that. That's a scam. Like, no, it's Michael Saylor. It's like, no, I can show you probably like 2 other live streams going at the same time of these people taking these clips from some interview Michael Saylor did like a long time ago, or like months before that, and they're simply putting their own little website to it, and you got to click and go there. It's going to give you an address to send money to, and you really think somebody's going to give you something for free in crypto? Like, you know, maybe in an airdrop, I know that does happen, but just straight up like, hey, you send something to me, I'll give you something back. And even airdrops, I'm very weary about. Like, you know, I know that they exist, but same thing. I'm just like, crypto is so good. If you just buy the good stuff and just hold it, like, you're going to get what's coming to you if you go about this thing directly. You don't always have to try to search for the easy, like, money, like, you know, because that's where you're going to find the most scams. And a lot of this stuff, think about it. If there's some person always talking about airdrops, or an influencer always talking about, hey, this airdrop, make sure you're going over in this community. And hey, if you buy this 1 coin, you can get an airdrop for this other one that's going to be coming out. Like, and this 1 coin that they tell you that they're buying, they probably bought a long time ago and their buddy just made it. Like, you know, so be very careful when there's prerequisites for you to make the money. So it's like, hey, for you to make this money, you've got to do this, and then you'll get a good outcome later. Be very wary of that, because a lot of influencers do that. I'm literally just venting of all the things that I've seen. There's plenty more, but like, I'm trying to think of the things. I mean, I didn't necessarily like write a script down for this, but like, there's a lot of things that I've seen where it's just like, yo, you sneaky SOBs, like you sneaky people out here really, really thinking that, and the thing is, they get people, you know, because there's a lot of people that just want that instant gratification of making money tomorrow, you know. So what else we got? So I've seen influencers make a lot of different predictions, and then posting shorts, only sharing those they were right about. Exactly what I was saying. It gives the impression they never miss. It's misleading. Yes. And so, for example, something that's misleading is not honest. So, and it's kind of like trading. Like, I see this a lot in, like, when people are like trading Forex or even crypto. It's like they'll show you a trading account. Hey, see, here's where I'm winning. But they never show you like the net trading account. Like, hey, where are you net? Like, yeah, you might have won these ones, but show us your losses. Show us like the total information. And that's the thing. Like, when you don't know, when you're fresh into a market, you don't know that, like, yo, even in trading, some of the best traders, they don't even, like, their percentage of winning is like maybe 60%. But, and then when they win big, they win big, but they do very good on the risk mitigation, but they actually really do lose more than they win. So it's just like, you know, anybody that seems like they've always just only won, it's not true. Like, even me, I've even come on stream a couple times like, hey, you know what? I found myself getting caught up in the yield games, like back on Phantom, which is like, oh man, this yield. And some of them I was like, ooh, they got me a little bit on that. But it was a really good teaching mechanism, you know, it really was. But and I didn't get hit too hard. But on little things here and there, I'm just like, ooh, yeah, dang, I didn't realize. And this is because, yeah, like, part of me was wanting to get that passive income, because that was like the buzzword, especially in like 2021. Hey, you know, get your money to work for you, get this passive income. But, you know, in crypto, is very rare that you see 40% or 50% for months at a time and just get that easy yield, you know. And if it is, it's because certain enough people are still coming into the market and kind of, you know, getting their coins locked up for a little bit while people are extracting and all that kind of stuff. So if you're in the queue early enough, yeah, you can do pretty well there. And that was me for a lot of the stuff on Phantom. but some things I'm hearing about and I was a little late. And then now I start to realize like, oh snap, I'm late in the queue here. This ain't gonna be what I think it is. Like, and so Tomb and Olympus Dow and all that stuff, time, for those that were there, you remember. So, and I just say that to everybody that's new, everybody that's watching this stream, is just be vigilant with what people are saying, what they're doing, what they're admitting to, the value that they're adding or the value that they're not giving. And at the end of the day, that's the risk assessment that you need to do on people, not just risk assessment on charts or, risk assessment on, looking at valuations, but really doing a risk assessment on, hey, having a filter gate for your ears and your eyes. Because at the end of the day, that's what's really most important. What are you seeing? Because what you're seeing is going to lean into what you'll do a lot of the times. And like I said, that's just not within investing in crypto. That's just in life in general. Like, for example, if you find yourself around people that only talk about a certain thing, believe it or not, and you may not even do that, right? You may not, let's say you find a group of guys that seem to just always just talk about, I don't know, the Rockets, or let's do another team, the Cowboys, which they lost, by the way. They got beat by the Packers. Go Pack, go. Anyways, let's just say you find yourselves around a group of guys that are always talking about the Cowboys. Oh, the Cowboys didn't do this, but they'll be doing this next year and blah, blah, blah. And you don't even like football like that, for example. You hang around them for a whole year or watch them talk about that, believe it or not, you're going to check in on a Cowboys game here and there. And they might get a little win. And he's like, oh, okay, maybe I might start following some of these players. Like you are going to be, here, I had somebody tell me this before. You're going to be just like the 3 closest people to you in proximity. Like you're going to pull from them a lot of things. So in life, look at like the 3 people around you most and say, hey, are these people going in the same direction I'm going in? Do they share similar values? And you're not going to find people that are just like you, exactly like you, but hopefully you find some people that you have some commonalities with, people that have ideals or, spiritual convictions similar to you, or thought processes or interests that are similar to you, that are positive, not things that are just, like empty thoughts and empty words, like things that can actually be beneficial, not just for entertainment, but to move your life forward in a positive way. So, and that's another thing that I really love about, what we have here with the Vaults of Crypto is we got a group of people that, not just positivity, like we cross-examine and say, okay, like, let's look at this angle. Okay, but now what about this? Okay, now what does this look like if we think about this under this time duration? Hey, how does that seem a little bit more risky? Like these are the type of questions that we talk about, not just like, hey, what coin should I buy? Hey, when are we going to be mean? Like we really cross-examine with data, extra on-chain information, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like a group of people that are saying, hey, I want to get better at what I'm doing. And that's just, I want to be just better at assessing in general. Like I want to be better at assessing what I'm looking at. And from there, people make their decisions, And so that there's a huge value in that when everybody in the circle, it's just like, all right, let's all become better assessors of what we're looking at. You'll find often than not that, what you may not see, somebody like 4 other people can be like, hey, but this is kind of what this looks like for us. And you're like, oh, snap, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And so there's a thing called Metcalfe's Law, which people talk about in crypto quite often, but it also works in the natural, out here is like, or even on the internet where, let me start with this. So what is Metcalfe's Law? So Metcalfe's Law existed, for quite some time, and it is the concept of understanding multipliers. And so, for example, it started off with telecommunications, where you got landlines going back and forth. So imagine there's just like 2 guys. So we got Jim and we got John, and Jim and John, they've got each other's number and they can just call each other, back and forth. So it's only 2 people. But what happens if you add, let's say, Jeff to the equation? So you got Jim, John, and Jeff. Now all 3 of them can communicate. And then so you add another person to the group, it gives an amplifier to the overall value. So Metcalfe's Law is the value squared. So for example, 1 squared, so just one person doing something, like one person's economic energy, 1 times 1, that's only just 1. 2 squared, okay, cool, now you got 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16, right? 5 squared, 25. And so you see, if you just by adding one more person to the network, you get a bigger valuation. So that's what happens to a lot of these crypto prices. But that's what happens when you're in a nice think tank. You add one more person of value that's giving value. That means everybody's going to benefit the more people of value that you add. And that's why I'm like, we're good with just 100 people. I don't want 500 people, is because when you start to just go for scale, it kind of dwindles down the efficacy of like what's really going on. And so a nice tight group is 9 times out of 10. Like I'd rather be like the movie 300, where it wasn't like thousands of them. It's literally like 300 warriors. But these were the right 300 warriors that worked together, that had the same ideals, that had the same, concepts of where they're trying to go. And I think there's a little bit more value than just going for scale. So Metcalfe's law is great. It really does do wonders, not just within investing, but just with your network in general. So for sure. And let's go. Large and in charge, LFG. Let's get it. So with that being said, I do have an article here. Let's take a look. So, and I want to say this is an article that came out last year, but we'll see what the normies say about the dark side of crypto influencers. So this is an article, like I said, it was here in June of 2023. So this is like, where's Bitcoin at this time? Let me think. June of 2023, about like $28,000, somewhere in there. Yeah, so, things are kind of off the bottom and things are looking pretty decent. Maybe like 30K, somewhere like there. But this thing comes out. First of all, there's a promo. Whatever this is, don't click on it. Like, see all this stuff? Like, scam. Just stay away. Don't even click, which I don't think anybody really clicks on advertisements anyway. But 10,000 USDT? Nah, I'm good. Anyways, so it says, while crypto influencers have the power to positively shape the market, the prevalence of manipulation and scam promotions must be addressed. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Like, you really need to understand, if there's some super low cap coin that they are talking about, 9 times out of 10, it's a scam. And they're trying to manipulate you emotionally so they could fill their bags. Anyway, so there's a rapid rise of cryptocurrencies that have given birth to a new breed of influencers who hold significant sway over the market. And you'll be surprised, when people start to really get a big following, they may start off with really good intentions. And that's why it's important to stay true to who you are and what you're here to do. And if you're only here just to make money off of people, which I think there's nothing wrong with providing value and receiving some type of compensation for that. I have no argument about that. But I do have a problem is basically just trying to exist, just trying to say just enough right things to make people happy and have fun and all this. Yeah, bro, da 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 da. Like, and then at the end of the day, your channel gets nice and big, and you're getting these offers from these, these large, exchanges or whoever. All right, man, if you talk about this, if you interview me, da 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 da, I'll give you 20K. And you start doing stuff like that. Like, yeah, nah. Like, yeah, you lost on me. Like, I can't. And I can see it a mile away. And so it's just like, no, it sucks that people start off good and they end up being on the dark side, but this is what happens. Money is very powerful and people will do a lot of things for money. So, with that being said, this stuff shapes, trends, manipulates prices. And, these people promote scams, like what it's saying. So it does. And the power of influence is something to really think about. And you got to think about this for yourself. Like, everyone has a certain amount of influence towards the people around them, whether it's at their home or in the community or wherever. So with that being said, how do people see you? Like, I've asked people this, like, hey, what is your opinion of me? And they've been like shocked, like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you ask me that? I was like, if you were to just put it in one sentence, like, how would you describe me? I think that's what I asked. How would you describe me? And I heard what they had to say. And then so that lets me know if I have influenced them in a good positive way or if it's in a good negative way. And those questions you want to ask to people that are close to you, because somebody that's not really close with, they'll just lie to you. They won't tell you the truth. They'll be like, oh yeah, man, you're great, man. I love being right. Like, no, like ask your family, ask your parents, ask, your spouse, ask your girlfriend, and really see like, hey, like, how have I influenced you this past week? In what areas? And the idea is you want to influence people in the areas that'll help them grow as a person, ideally. as you're growing. And so that's the power of influence. We all have it. So now for example, this scenario here, so crypto influencers often often active on social media platforms and YouTube channels. They have amassed sizable followings for sure. So these are like your 30K, 100K, 200K follower count, type platforms that they have due to their expertise. Not really. I say really, they really try to lean on engaging content. So really trying to get your emotions going, positive and or negative. Because here's the thing, people really do a good job of giving you that fear, like that FUD, like, oh man, I don't know, it looks like we're gonna go down. It's like they really do a good job because people pay attention. Because the news, they do that all the time. The news is gonna make you feel like, oh snap, the world's about to end tomorrow half the time. And people are going to watch that because people gravitate towards negative things more than positive things. So they're going to try to get you with engaging negative content sometimes too. But with that being said, and the ability to basically deliver privileged information, basically, hey, my buddy's just about to make this coin. Let me help him out by shilling it. I'm gonna, get my positions, or go ahead and give me some of the coins before we let the public get it, and let's rock and roll, right? Now their opinions can carry substantial weight. Of course, because an opinion is an opinion. And as their followers often trust them, and people trust them, very often, and I get that. When something sounds good to you, you'll start to put trust in it. But the thing is, hey, what are you learning through that time? Are you just like a blank canvas where you just trust somebody, but you haven't gotten no value from them? I don't know about that. But with that being said, as a result, when these influencers endorse or criticize a particular cryptocurrency, their followers are likely to take that action, and that's what I'm saying. I'm always constantly reminding you guys, hey, don't just listen to what I'm talking about. Don't just listen to what people on YouTube or Twitter are talking about. Learn to listen to yourself. So get that deep intuition, but to have that deep confidence, you really got to do some time and study, really. And so, that way, when you take the actions for yourself, you what? Yeah, even though somebody might have mentioned this, I feel confident about it because I've done the due diligence on this. And so, these can lead into significant market movements. So, and to, make the long story short, they're talking about things like a pump and dump. So if you've been in crypto for more than 3 weeks, you kind of probably already know what a pump and dump is. Hey, here, go buy this coin. We're going to dump on your head. So I talked about that earlier. But outside of that, here's the thing. So another manipulation technique involves spreading false information or rumors about certain cryptocurrencies. So believe it or not, this is the one that's a little bit more sneaky, where they're just like, interesting. Something that they know that they can potentially get leverage on and short. Oh man, I heard this is about to da 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 da. We've seen everything as far as fake news articles, all the time, especially on Bitcoin and stuff like that. But there's all kind of things, rumors that are falsely reported to get people spur of the moment, sell something, and they're benefiting from that, and the news influencers as well. But this is what we call FUD, right? A lot of FUD out there. And so the other thing is just the scam promotion. So what I was talking about, deceiving followers for personal gain. They may promote fraudulent pre-sales, Ponzi schemes. And here's the thing. Let's highlight this in particular. Here, let's cancel that. This one right here, NFT collections. Boy, oh boy. If I were to say one area of cryptocurrency where you see probably the most scams is within NFTs. That's why I really don't mess with them like that. Simply because it's so easy to tell people man, there's so much utility. You buy, what, that Logan Paul guy, he was promising to come out with all this stuff and hey, just buy this NFT. And he didn't do none of it. Now I think he's getting sued, right? NFTs, man, it's a very, you think crypto is volatile? NFT is illiquid and volatile. So, and a lot of them are Ponzi. So be careful out there if you guys are doing any type of NFT collections. Worthless meme tokens, that's another thing that are pretty much lucrative for the people that are shilling them. This is kind of what you want to look out for. Outside of that, how do you address the issue? And so here's the thing. I love what they put here. So Regulating these activities of crypto influencers is a challenging task. It is, but you got to do it for yourself. The decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies, coupled with the global reach of social media, make it difficult to establish oversight. Like there's no one patrolling and say, "Hey, what this person is saying is a scam." Nevertheless, several initiatives can be explored to combat manipulation and scam promotions effectively. So first and foremost, and this is why I want to take the time to do a stream like this today. First of all, the education and the awareness. So first of all, look and learn what scams look like. Look and learn what furus and imposters look like and sound like. I'm not going to say no names. But with that being said, how do you do that? By having the education and awareness for yourself. So what it says, providing investors with education on the risks associated with the crypto market, which we know this is, there's risk to this, but there's risk to everything. There's risk to doing nothing. But at the same time, including the influence of influencers and common scam tactics can help, people make more informed decisions. Once again, another word, due diligence. So do your own research, DYOR, and due diligence, DD. So investors should conduct thorough research on cryptocurrencies and influencers. So I think we really we do a good job of talking about researching certain coins or cryptocurrencies, but same thing, you gotta research the efficacy of people. So people assessment, influencers. Before doing any type of investing decisions, examining the credibility and track record of influencers can be, helpful to identify the practices that they may have that may be a little bit more manipulative. So, and here's another thing. This is why, one thing I decided to do early on when I started this channel was, I was like, you know what? Let me not just tell people about my investing past, but actually, what did I really do? What was the thing that actually really put money in my pocket? What actually gave me the opportunity to invest at a high, at a high potential rate? As far as hey, I've got plenty of distributable cash. And I talk about it. Obviously, I always use some type of football reference because that's, where was the bread and butter for me for a very long time. I did it for my whole life. And then so I decided to share that with people very early on because it's just hey, I'm human. I'm not just some random guy that just popped on YouTube. You can actually Google me and you'll find things. You'll find teams that I played for. You'd probably even sign or you'd find the salaries that I've made over the years. I don't mind that. But a lot of people are going to be oh yeah, I've been in crypto since blah, blah, blah. And you really don't have no clue if they're telling you the truth, first of all. Oh yeah, I've made X amount, blah, blah, blah. They've never really showed you a wallet. So it's same thing. They may talk very good, but you really don't know if they've ever even touched real funds, real money. To be telling you to, hey, go invest X amount and do all this stuff. So, and a lot of these people are just average Joe, and there's nothing wrong with average Joes sharing information. I don't have that plight currently of saying hey, it's just about if they're portraying something that they're not, they're claiming to have experience that they don't. That's where I have the problem. And so definitely got to do your due diligence. And I'll be honest, I've looked into people, I've done my own research, all right, where's this person from? Let me see if I could find out what's going on. And not in a stalker type of way, but hey, are they really, coming from the cloth that they say they come from? Really, that kind of thing. Because, when I grew up, something that, growing up in, the environment that I did in certain points of my life, back in the day, people will pull your card real quick and they could really do it because it's in person. You can't really do that as much over the internet. But when somebody's claiming a certain thing and they're yeah, this is what I'm about, people are going to test it in real life. You really can't do that here on the internet. And so really the thing that you can really do is just say, hey, before I start to listen to anything, does this person sound like they're trying to manipulate my emotions in any way? Am I doing my due diligence? Do I have enough education and awareness? Right? Now, this is the one that I really don't agree with. Enhanced regulation. Nah. Let us all just self-govern, what we're doing. I think that's what crypto was about. We don't need Big Brother to come through and start to investigate and be like, oh, this person is saying, and because here's the thing, like I know some Hex influencers got sued by the SEC. I think they're all good, but it's just like Big Brother coming in and trying to threaten people. It doesn't help. And if anything, that's more price manipulation than anything. The actions that the SEC takes, the actions that Gary Gensler takes, people like Jamie Dimon, people that have like a very large following because their CEOs are in charge of whatever. Like they say certain things and they know they're manipulating the price because really, truthfully, they don't even believe what they're saying. And you can see it all on their face. Like Jamie Dimon, they are officially a part of BlackRock's like official participants group, Chase. But Jamie Dimon, the figurehead of Chase, is like, no, stay away from Bitcoin. Like, but they're literally like sponsoring a Bitcoin ETF. It's hypocritical, man. So it happens a lot. Watch what they do, not what they say. And then here's the thing, community vigilance. This one's super important. So what it says is crypto community should actively share information and report suspicious activities. So if you come across somebody that said something where you're like, you know what, I kind of know what they're saying ain't true, let the people around, at least the people in your group, know about it, Like, yo, if you ever see something from this guy, just act like you didn't hear it. Or this girl, whatever, act like you didn't hear it. So telling one another, in private settings, you ain't got to put people on blast on the internet, but in private settings, hey, you know what? I kind of realized like what they were doing, blah, 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 with that situation. Yep, no bueno. Yeah, we can't really converse with them, or hey, we can't really, take what they're saying and take it serious, So that kind of thing, and in conclusion, there's an immense power that basically crypto influencers have that shape the market and sway public sentiment. So while many influencers provide value and insights and contribute positively to the group, that's what we're talking about. You want to find those people. There is an alarming prevalence of manipulation, scam promotion within the crypto space. So investors must remain cautious, conduct thorough research, stay informed to avoid falling victim to these fraudulent practices, And at the end of the day, additional concerted efforts from regulators, which not really feeling that one. Industry participants, so that's us, the community, and essentially everybody. Everybody's crucial in combating the manipulation and promotion of false things and trying to promote safer and more trustworthy cryptocurrency environment, which I do agree with. I like being able to try to add a little bit of safety, but not too much oversight. And at the end of the day, I thought this was a good read. Like it's pretty basic, but it's a good awareness. It's a good thing to kind of bring back to the mind as we trend up through time. You're going to see a lot of these crypto influencers come out of nowhere with all of these links and, all of this stuff. And you got to be like, hold on, y'all. Was this person streaming in the bear market and saying, hey, here's actually where the real opportunity is? If they weren't, that should be a big, okay, I see what's going on here. So go check the receipts here for this channel. In the bear market, deep in the bear market, giving just value, and at the end of the day, that's all I can do. So yeah. Any thoughts on what we're talking about? I just want you guys to, at the end of the day, I want you guys to, 1, increase your knowledge, 2, take accountability and keeping vigilant on what you're watching. So watching your ear gates and your eye gates. I said ear gates pointing to my eyes, but y'all get what I'm saying. And at the end of the day, like ask yourself, like, how can I go about this and give myself the best chance to stay away from risk as much as possible? And when I talk about risk, I'm talking about really like people in that sense, because a lot of the times people can be the riskiest part of life. And sometimes that's even the internet. So, think about that. Like, yeah, we know there's risk in crypto, but it's not really so much risk as the volatility. But the risk is doing things ill-advised. Truthfully, that's where the risk is. And so if you're savvy enough and you've done the due diligence, you really limit your risk when you're, going in, purchasing whatever you get in, because when you may understand the fluctuations of the market, you understand how to get a better cost basis. You understand, hey, how do I understand when things are going to be here for some time versus when things are fly by night? How do I look out for the yield games? How do I look out for influencers selling some Bybit link? How do I look at so having these conversations like this, having these foresights, this is what reduces risk. And so, yeah, definitely something to think about and all that good stuff. So outside of that, pretty quick stream today. I appreciate you guys' time. And yeah, if you haven't thought about it, or if you've thought about it and you haven't made the decision, VoltaCrypto.com. Check it out. I'm not going to say too much past that. If you like it, hit that join button. But if not, subscribe. Watch more of this free content, and you'll get plenty of value here, but you'll get 10 times more in the group. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all coming through. Let me check the chat one more time before we skate for the night. Nothing as of now. All right, bet. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of y'all's evening or night or morning, wherever you're at. Remember to just stay vigilant. Try your best to stay in your game on all fronts. And at the end of the day, that's the best that we all can do. And so until next time, peace.